Welcome back to the Mom Existence podcast. I'm so happy. I'm so excited for this episode. And this is a good week. My birthday, my 38th, I almost said 33. I don't know why. That number just came into my mind. Maybe because today is the 22nd and I don't know. Anyways, I did not turn 33. I turned 38. So this has been just kind of a fun week. I'm not notoriously someone who loves my birthday, and not that I don't care about it. I think I saw someone post not long ago about birthdays, and there's typically, let's say, like 3 types of people. People that absolutely love their birthday, just love, let everyone know that. Shout out to my best friend, Sarah. I love that she loves her birthday. And people that really don't care about it. It's just another day. And then people perhaps like me that don't like, maybe there's 4, maybe people like hate it, like actually hate it. And then people like me that don't really know and feel a bit weird about their birthday. And I don't really know why that is. If it's like a reflection on where it's not really the aging thing. I don't mind getting older. I'm happy to be alive. I'm happy to age. It's definitely a blessing, and we can't take that for granted. That's for sure. But I think the expectations around birthdays can be a bit hard or confusing if they don't go as planned or something eventful doesn't happen. But I also don't love being the center of attention and telling people. I don't know. So it's just like a strange, confusing time. But here I am, another year older, and feeling my Gemini self. But I am so excited. So excited. I feel like every week I start to say, like, this is my favorite episode. This is my favorite guest. But I had the pleasure of chatting with my original beauty influencer and YouTube, I guess YouTube fan. She was the first person that I actually I would say on a regular basis consumed their content. But it is Laura Armstrong, and she is known for the MM&L show. If you've been living under a rock for the last 10, 12 years, her and her best friend, Michelle Money, who you may know or recognize the name from The Bachelor. And she is also the founder of For All, which I'm obsessed with because I love golfing. And they created such a fun, inspiring, educational YouTube channel called the MM&L show. And their humor and just their kind of relationship as best friends was just engaging. It captivated you. I laughed. I would have it off on my screen while I was doing whatever nonsense at work, just listening. And they legitimately, I had this conversation with very well-known makeup artist here, Vicky Mina, a few weeks ago. And Vicky was a big fan of the MM&L show. And they were really the original influencers for me. We now know that there's so many out there. It's very overwhelming when you're on TikTok, on Instagram, YouTube, whatever it is, but they were the it girls for us. Okay. And I still use a lot of products that they recommended. It was just so genuine. It was so genuine. They just did it because they were, creating content, having fun, spending time together, educating us because they're both in the beauty industry. And I honestly learned how to curl my hair. They taught me a lot. They've both had very unique journeys and are still, I think, as close as they can be by distance, right? As happens with best friends. But I remember seeing Laura post about, I remember seeing her with a guy, and we do get into this, and that she was in a relationship. And then I remember on Instagram seeing that she was in search of a surrogate. And I remember thinking, that's hard. I wonder what happened. And fast forward years and years later, I connected with her and asked her to come on as a guest and share her story because I was genuinely curious to hear it. And I know there are so many people. I have friends in my close girlfriend circle and just going through my own IVF journey. You understand how personal it can be, and everyone is so different, but it's so much more common than we even know. And Laura's is even more interesting because she did all the things and went through IVF. And she talks about that, how that was a very personal and difficult journey as it is. and then what led them to go down the surrogacy route. And she was lucky enough to welcome her sweet little daughter. But it's just like a very unique story. And I really appreciate her honesty and transparency. And we had a lot of fun. I feel like we could have talked for so long. But I hope this conversation is just as enjoyable. Actually, like, I know it's going to be enjoyable. I had a great time. I know you're going to enjoy it. And if you're curious about surrogacy or IVF, like, I will point you in Laura's direction, or just send me a message, because it's definitely a more unique journey and less common, I would say, here in Canada for a lot of different reasons. But I think what she was able to do with her surrogate, and like the magic that happened with her surrogate that she ended up using. She used two, just a little teaser. And the power of listening to your own gut and intuition, especially when it comes to something so precious as trying to welcome a child. It's so cool. And I also appreciated her perspective on what she does for herself and how she focuses on things to keep her going and her ambition through motherhood. It really, really resonated with me, because it's something I do struggle with when growing my own business ventures, and especially this podcast. So I hope you guys just stay right here and dive in. Let me know what you think. Leave a review, like or subscribe. I love to hear from you, and we'll see you here next week. All right, here's our conversation. Okay, I'm so excited to welcome Laura Armstrong to the Mom Existence podcast. And as I'm saying that, I'm like, do you still go by Armstrong now that you're married, or?
Well, I'm in the process of legally changing my last name, but I don't have a middle name. So
You
Armstrong
don't?
will be, no. Can you believe it?
You're like Kim Kardashian naming her children just a first name and a last name.
Yeah. So I'm going to have Armstrong be my middle name. So
I like that.
yeah.
That's fun. I know it's different. It took me quite a few years, actually. We got married really young. I'll be 38 in like 2 weeks. And we got married, and it's obviously 2025, but in 2010, like a long time.
Okay.
We've been married for a long time. Crazy.
That is a long time, but that's good.
It's good. But it did take me a while to change my name. It just feels like one of those things that's, it's not really a priority until you get around to it.
It's not fun. It's a pain. So
yeah. Well, before we kind of dive into some of the more mom-coded topics and conversation, I just have to say that I was a huge fan, or still am a fan, of the MM&L show. That is how I know who you are, Laura. I know. And I
love that.
I miss it because, so to me, you guys, so Laura had this show with her best friend, Michelle Money, who some of you may know from The Bachelor or Bachelor in Paradise. But you guys were my first like internet YouTube following that actually gave me beauty advice and makeup advice and like practical things. And there's like a Bobbi Brown pink blush. I forget the name of it that I still use. Yeah. I'm like, I bought this because of Laura and Michelle.
That's such a compliment, because whenever anyone has said like, thank you so much for the advice, or I do this because of you, it's such a huge compliment. We loved doing it. It was such a labor of love, and we had so much fun. But yeah, it's so rewarding. So I'm glad you watched it.
Yeah, I would be sitting at, I worked for my in-laws at the time, but there would be some days that were very mindless work on my computer, and I would like have the YouTube channel on just listening, and immediately wanted to probably go buy something and definitely curl my hair. I feel like you guys nailed that stuff. But it's been a minute since you're still online, you're still present. You have your own podcast, The Body Pod, which I was listening actually on my drive into the studio today. But there's obviously been a big gap in your life and kind of what you've shared, I would say, more publicly on a regular basis. Like, you guys were in a different space. You both lived in the same city. You were creating content, putting yourselves out there. And I remember you talking about meeting your boyfriend, now husband, at the time, and seeing you guys, I think it was on one of your Instagrams, that you guys were getting married all of a sudden. I was like, oh my God, this is so exciting. So how did you guys meet?
We met at a party, actually. So I think at that time, I think there was a couple of online dating sites, maybe Match and like one other one or something. I'm actually not sure. So I kind of missed the whole online dating experience because I met him like right before that. So I love that we met like in a really authentic way. But it was pretty serendipitous too. I was with Michelle when I met Carl, my husband, and we had a friend who always knew all the best parties. He would get us into any of the best parties in Las Vegas. So if there was ever like a red carpet event or something that was going on that was worth it, he would say, "You guys should come. It'll be VIP,
What a
et
great
cetera, et
friend.
cetera." Yeah, he was a very good friend. And so he told us, like at the beginning of the week, Mike Tyson has a stand-up show and there's going to be this VIP red carpet event. It's going to be closed to the public, just editors and um like celebrities were going to go to it. And so he's like, "You guys should come." And we're like, "No, we're like not really into boxing, so we probably won't come."
Yeah.
And we were sitting there on a Friday getting pedicures, actually. And I was like, "You don't have your daughter Brielle. It's going to be raining all weekend." I was like, "We're going." And
Mm.
I booked flights and we left that night at like 6. And I met my husband the next day at that party.
Oh my goodness. There was something
Yeah.
in the universe that was
Yeah.
giving you a little nudge.
Yep. And so that's how I met him. And so we did long distance. He was actually living in Australia at the time. So we
So
took
close.
so
So
close. It
close.
was so convenient.
Just right there.
Yeah. And so um he he was working half the time in LA and the only other state he was working in was Utah, which is also a very ironic and coincidental
Hmm.
and total kismet. Because when I met him, I knew I was going to see him again because he was going to be in Utah in like a couple of weeks. And so, yeah, it was,
So you guys just connected again.
yeah, we just connected and then we kept in touch. And yeah, I would say it like went pretty fast as far as feelings went. And we just did long distance for a couple of years. And I think a lot of people question if long distance works or not. And I'm here to tell you it can work.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, we did long distance for 2 years. And then I moved to Los Angeles and we lived there for several years together. So,
Amazing. And is he
yeah.
from the US or is he from Australia?
No, he's actually from neither.
Okay.
Although when people hear his accent, they'll say, "Oh, you're Australian." But then they're like, "But it's weird. Like, where are you from?" People can't pick up on it because he's been gone for so long, but he was born and raised in Norway. So he's
Oh,
Norwegian.
okay.
And so my daughter's half Norwegian, which I love.
Hmm.
And he's the only one in his family who left. So all of my in-laws and all of his family still lives in Norway, but he moved to Australia and went to college there and then started his career. So really important years in your life. Um, like
Hmm.
started his career, just those lifelong friends that you make in your 20s and early 30s. So he always refers to Australia as his emotional home. And we actually got married in Australia. So, um, yeah, he's Norwegian, but he calls everyone mate and sounds Australian.
Love that. And how old is your guys' daughter now?
She's 19 months.
Oh, wow.
I know I cannot believe it.
Yeah, you almost had hesitation there. Like
I
I
was
think
like,
I remember you posting, or we were emailing when she was a year. I think it's normal to like different stages and not like stages as much, but I feel like after that year and a half, I started to feel maybe more like myself or more comfortable, but it just gets a little more fun because of their ability to do different things and like interact differently. Like, do you see that kind of changing right now?
oh, for
Is she
sure.
walking?
I'm Yes,
Yeah.
she's walking and she is running
Running.
everywhere as they do.
Yeah.
But no, I do think it's gotten a little bit easier as far as, even if you run to the grocery store, like being able to set them down to like pay or,
Yeah.
how
Mhm.
they're
And the
just
playground,
not
like
as
you can
dependent.
actually
Yeah.
play. They're not, just plopped in the swing or you're trying to slide them down. It's definitely, yeah, it keeps you on your toes. So you've always been very open, honest, transparent. When I was reviewing some things and revisiting the MM&L show, I'm like, Laura and Michelle would show like, they're like, we have these pimples, like this is what we're going through, and like very open and honest. So I remember you popping up on Instagram years ago with some of your fertility journey. So you seem to be quite open and honest with sharing that. And also, specifically, I remember you guys, I think, I don't want to misquote, but like searching for or looking for a surrogate for you and your husband. So let's just rewind a little bit and kind of visit the time when you guys wanted to or knew you wanted to start a family. Like, what was that process like?
So because I got married later in life and then started having trying to have kids. How old was I? Oh my gosh. I think we started when I was 38 or 30. Time is just
I know. A few years ago.
yeah. So we decided to I did go and get the test. I forget what it's called right now, but you can get a blood test and there's um, you get a rating of kind of where your egg reserve is, like
Right.
how high or low it is. And mine was um pretty normal at the time. It wasn't like anything concerning. So we just tried and didn't even kind of think about it. It was more just I took out my IUD and we started trying for a couple of years and it went by pretty fast because we were really busy at the time and nothing was happening. So I started going to this really incredible fertility doctor in California. And he he did some more tests and he just said, I think that because you haven't gotten pregnant yet, and then I was 2 years older. So I think I was 40 at like when I went in there. And he just said, if you want to have a baby and let's just be proactive
Hmm.
instead of, taking a like less casual approach. And once I know I want something, I'm pretty um like focused and want to get I want to get to the finish line where
Right.
whenever I start something. And so it was pretty emotional the first couple of times I went and he just helped me understand. I was like, well, what is the process? So I need to do IVF. I'm not getting pregnant. My egg reserve was lower than it was. um, 2 years prior, obviously, and so we were going to start the process of IVF, um, a couple of times, and we pushed it out because of just travel and a couple of things with my husband's work schedule, because, once you do it, you have to,
Yeah. There's a lot of
you know
appointments.
yeah, there's lots of appointments, and it's very it's all consuming. And so we were getting ready to start, and then COVID hit.
Mm.
And so and we kept trying also in the meantime, but we ended up leaving Los Angeles because it felt like the end of the world there. It was
Mm.
horrible. And we wanted to just have a different scenery. And I'm originally from Utah. And so we thought, let's just go to Park City for a few months. And so actually the plan was for 2 months, and we're still here. So longer than 2
Surprise.
months.
Yeah.
But once we decided, you know what, let's just stay for a few more months. Let's stay for 6 months. I was like, I have to get a fertility doctor here. Like,
Mhm.
we have to start this process. And that is when I started feeling really stressed. Like, I'm behind the 8 ball. I'm feeling like nervous about it. And so we met with this, I found a really amazing fertility doctor here that I really love. And we started the process. We were like, we know we want to do it. Let's just do it. Let's get started. And I ended up doing 6 rounds in total of
Oh, wow.
IVF. So it was a
And like
really,
one after another, basically, just to get through.
yeah, because once again, like time wasn't on my side.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, it's such an emotional process. It's mentally exhausting. It's emotionally exhausting. It's just a taxing experience to go through if you are older, because the clock is ticking.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm sure at any age doing it, you're wanting to get pregnant and you're not able to. And so it just feels like your dream is so far away from you. And so the very first round of IVF I did, we got 0 eggs, like
Ugh.
0
So you go
embryos,
to
0.
retrieval day, because I did IVF. I think we shared that in email.
Yeah. How many did you do?
We just did. So my journey is a different one, a little more unique. We did it for other like health reasons. So I didn't have, and it's hard for me to, like, I totally relate to you and your story and what people are doing, but for other people to relate to me and vice versa, because we didn't have that, like, years of trying and stuff. Like, we just knew it was the right decision for us and our family or our future family to do it and wanted to be proactive. So we did it once and it did work. Hello, Cash. That's where he came from.
I love it.
But yeah, I know. And the thing is, I have lots of friends. I actually have a friend right now who's going through, she'll be 37 or 38. But she's freezing her eggs because she has a very like taxing career. She's very focused. She has like 2 different doctors. Like, she's very busy and she's single at the moment. So she wants to, like, be proactive and is worried, like, what if I wait too long? And obviously, being in science and medicine, she kind of understands. But I know more people now out of my friend groups who are considering that route, or are doing IVF themselves because they have, like, just, I forget how they call it, just like unexplained infertility. Like, they're like,
Yeah.
everything looks good, but we just don't know why you're getting pregnant. But I feel like the age thing, even now, thinking about if I wanted to have another one, like, that does. So I can only imagine when you were starting that journey around 38, where I'll be, like I said, in basically 2 weeks, that I'm starting, even though we froze my eggs or the embryos when I was 34. So that gives me like a little peace of mind, but I'm like, is everything still going to
Okay.
work or take? But I do feel that age age stress and just like life getting away, it does weigh on me. So I can't even imagine for you, like just starting that process, like that must have been hard. Like now looking back, you're probably like, it's fine. And it almost seems like a blur. I feel like it feels like a blur for me in some weird way. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And I do think anyone that is listening, one of my biggest regrets is that I didn't freeze my eggs
Mm,
earlier. And I thought when I was around 33, 34, I should just freeze my eggs, but there's always something else you can spend your money on.
right.
And
Yeah, it's not cheap.
so I do think that they are trying to work on getting that number down,
Mm,
um, and helping it be a little bit more accessible and easier to do. And I just think you never know how things are going to play out in your life. And why not just freeze your eggs
mhm.
and have that peace of mind? So I think if you've thought, should I freeze my eggs? Yes, freeze your
Just do
eggs.
it. This is your
For
sign.
anyone listening, yes. Um, but yeah, it definitely, I think probably regardless of what age you are, going through the process of trying to have a baby is it just puts a lot of weight on your shoulders. Like it's yeah, it's a lot. It's a hard journey to go through,
Mhm.
I think.
So that first you go in, you're ready to do the retrieval, and did they immediately tell you, because obviously they're right there, there's a screen like we're going to have to try again in a few days, or what did they do?
So for anyone that doesn't know the process of IVF, I mean, the the easiest and like simple explanation of the process, just so when I tell you this, it makes sense.
Mhm.
You take medications
A lot.
for a lot of
Mhm.
medications every morning for, is it 12 days?
Before the
It's
retrieval?
about two
Yeah, I would say
weeks.
2
Yeah. I
weeks,
mean,
yeah. Depending
yeah,
on the
you're
end, they
doing,
might push you out a day or do it a day
yeah,
or 2 earlier,
exactly.
yeah.
So you do all this prep work, and then for 2 weeks, you are taking all the shots, and then you're going into all of the appointments. And then the day of the retrieval, you get put under slightly, and they retrieve the eggs. And then they take the sperm, like obviously the embryologists are back in their lab, and then they take the sperm and create embryos. And then you have to wait 5 days
Mhm.
after.
To
So,
do a fresh transfer.
yeah,
Yeah.
to do so the day that
Look
you
at
get it
us.
taken out, I
We're
know
just
for
like
like,
doctors,
I know.
women in
Ugh,
STEM.
you feel like it
Yeah.
after this, but the day that you get the transfer, you know how many eggs you follicles that
Yeah,
you get. So, it could be 1 or it could be, I mean, some women have like 40.
it's crazy.
So, I know it really is insane. I had a friend who got like 42.
Oh my
I was
gosh.
like,
I think ours
"What?"
was 13, which I was expecting there to be more, but like you just don't know how your body is going to process the whole situation. Um, and then like you said, then they become embryos once they're inseminated, I guess. I don't know what.
Inseminated. Yeah.
But then you still don't know. They have to monitor those. And it's
No.
like which ones are going to actually like make it through is it I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's almost like what they like them becoming a real embryo. And so it
Right.
takes 5 days, and for them to it's blastocyst, like
Blastocyst, thank you.
yeah. So then they call you and say, "Okay, of your 13 embryos, this is how many made it like to blastocyst." And then they're able to freeze them.
Hmm.
So it means they're like a true embryo
Right.
baby. And I wished someone would have told me this. And I had a long talk with my doctor after and was like, you need to tell your patients this because it would have made me feel a lot better. Uh, like going into it knowing this. It's very common the first time you do IVF to not get any embryos, like not get any eggs
Okay.
and have, it's just to come out with nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And after I did that, it affected me way more than I ever would have thought. I think I've blocked it out. I think we got 5 eggs, follicles. I mean, what are we supposed to call it?
That's a
I
great
mean,
question. I feel like generally
yeah,
they call them eggs, but I
yeah,
don't
I
know.
know.
But it is, yeah,
But
like they're looking at these, they're basically, if anyone's watching the video, these little like black circles basically
yeah,
like on, yeah. And one side usually has way more than the other, or mine did. I don't
yep.
know if that's very common,
No,
but
mine did too.
yeah.
And so I think I got 5. Now I want to go back and look. Anyway, let's just, for all intents and for the story
5
purpose,
sounds good.
I got 5, and 3 made it to like and they got inseminated, and then you have to wait 5 days to see if they become an embryo.
Mm-hmm.
And I had just gotten to the gym and I knew they were going to call me. So I was just trying to like keep myself busy that day. And it was in the morning and I got on the treadmill and I was walking and they called me. And she's like, uh, I had no idea who it was that was calling me. It was the embryologist. And she said, I just wanted to let you know, none of them made it. And I was like, wait, what? And she's like, yeah, she said it like they all died.
Mm.
No, none of them made it. None of them survived. And I was like, I think you should use different words.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I said, well, I don't understand. I was in such shock and so sad. I was like, I have to get out of here right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I could hardly drive. I was crying so hard. And in that moment, I was like, this is why people that have miscarriages or go through this experience, it felt like I had these 3 babies and they died.
Mm.
And because you're so invested and you're like, okay, we got 3 eggs.
Like surely
Okay,
one is
we're,
going to,
yeah, like we're at least going to get 1 embryo. And I was not good. Like
Mm.
I was not good for a couple of days. And I had a very long talk with my doctor and she said, it's really normal to have, it's kind of like your body's almost just getting ready and preparing. And she's like, most people have better success on their second round.
Again, maybe one of the
And
things that they
yeah,
should have told you.
would have loved that information prior to this. And I have a friend who just in the last few months in Los Angeles is going to my fertility doctor, and she is 38. And
Mhm.
the very first round, she didn't get any. And I told her before, I said, I want you to know if none of it, like if you don't get any, it's totally normal. And don't get discouraged. Do not give up. And she called and said, we didn't. And she got like 6 eggs and none of them ended up making it. And she did it 2 more times and has 13 embryos total. She got like
Wow.
5 the next time and like 6. I mean,
None of it makes sense.
totally successful.
Yeah.
So if you do a round of IVF and it failed, don't give up. Don't get discouraged is my point of saying that. But
Mhm.
I was like, when can I do it again?
Right.
That was my way of like,
They're
trying
also
to
priming
fix
you,
it.
telling you this is normal, this is common.
Yeah.
It doesn't always happen in both of those scenarios. So you're like, okay, well, let's do it again.
Yeah.
And that's when it will happen. So I forget how long I did it just that one time. But but I feel like you still have to wait a few weeks, right?
Oh yeah, so
To
you
like
have to
restart a
wait.
bit.
Yeah, and then you start taking like oral um
No.
b- um estrogen, and you have to start taking things orally, and then the shots are the last 2 weeks. So really like an IVF treatment plan can be like up to 6 weeks long.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like for 2 weeks you're taking a baby aspirin, and then you do
I forgot
like
about the aspirin.
yeah.
I
So
forget about a lot of this.
I did IVF for a couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
and the first couple cycles didn't affect me that much, but then I gained weight the last on the tail end of my IVF um journey. So your body's changing. You don't feel good about yourself. It's totally emotional and mental, and it's it's just a lot, but it's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not all bad. I also think like some people would be like, how were you able to just give yourself shots? And I don't like needles. I don't love getting blood taken, and you get your blood taken like 1,000 times during the process. And I think if you focus on the why
Mm-hmm.
of why you're doing it, and I just would always tell myself, I feel so honored that I'm able to eh, do this, and that there are options to
Yeah.
have a baby. And all of these doctors and researchers and scientists are working so hard to make it easier to have a baby. And like we were saying, fertility numbers, infertility issues, or unexplained infertility issues are the numbers are growing. It is wild how many people have issues conceiving. And I just think I'm so grateful that I live in this day and age
Mm-hmm.
where they have figured out so much. And I mean, even every 3 months, my fertility doctor said, start going through this IVF process to when you end. There are so many things that could be even advanced in the space, because it changes all the time. So I really just looked at it as, so I have to give myself a shot. The reward far outweighs that. And I just feel grateful that I'm able to do this.
Mm-hmm. And it is hard. It's mentally exhausting, financially, physically, like all the things. And it's definitely 100% worth it. But when you were going through all that, like when did the, I guess, like option of surrogacy get presented? Or is this something that you were like, okay, this is not working. I cannot do this anymore? Because you still need to do the like process of IVF to get, like the surrogate
Exactly.
pregnant, right? So it's like that still has to work in order for the surrogate to be able to carry.
Yeah. So the very first time we met with my fertility doctor in Utah, she said, something that you want to think about, because she asked, like, so do you just, what is your dream? To have one baby, like just have your miracle baby, or, how many kids do you want? And I said, ideally, I would love to have two. That would be my dream. And so she
Mhm.
said, well, what you need to think about is, you might want to get a surrogate, because if we get, let's say on the first round of IVF, you get an embryo. If you had a surrogate, she could be carrying your child, and then you can continue the IVF process, because she said if we get an embryo, we implant it in you, and then you have a baby, and then I forget if it's 9 months or a year that they recommend that you wait. There's a certain period of time that you have to wait after you have a baby in order to do IVF again.
Mhm.
And so she said, you'll be, by the time that happens, you might be like 45. And so then it's after 40, I mean, your numbers, just the percentages of your success rate go down tremendously. And so she said, you really just need to think about like what your goal is and make smart decisions
So
to
she
get
was
there.
basically saying if the surrogate gets pregnant, then you are pregnant, then the two babies will line up in some respect or
Well,
timeline.
she was saying like you could implant the embryo in a surrogate and then you can continue to do IVF to try to get another embryo. She
Gotcha.
said because you might have to do 4 more rounds, and by the time you get another embryo, you could be having a baby instead of like doing nothing. And I remember when she said that, I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Like right at first I was like, oh, like I
Like that
that
wasn't
makes a
really
good point. I
an
was like, well, you
option.
make a good point. Like, because then after I have a baby, I am going to be that much older. And yeah, I didn't really think about it. And then as we were going through the process, I was like, if I really do want to have two, I could have them really close together. Like I could just have a surrogate have one, and then I could implant another embryo in me. And so you kind of, your mind just starts thinking about it. And that was the first time I ever thought about surrogacy. But then I, during my IVF, during the time period of when I was doing IVF, I got into a ski accident and I tore my ACL and meniscus.
I've
And
done that.
the
Not
worst,
skiing, but
I
playing
mean,
soccer.
the
Awful.
worst,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I'm just still so mad about it.
Yeah.
But I
So on brand for Salt Lake
stopped.
City.
I
feel
know,
like,
right?
like,
Yes,
go
like living
skiing
in
gets
Park
hurt.
City, it's
Or
like
sorry, Park
a
City.
rite
Yeah.
of passage.
Yeah.
But it caused a lot of issues, and I don't know if it was the surgical trauma or what was happening, but I also stopped having a period.
God.
And so my surgeon said, so at this time we had 2 embryos. So we were like, okay, we're done now.
Feeling good.
Like, I was feeling good. I did wanna do a couple more rounds just to try to get 1 more, just in case. And I stopped having my period. And
God.
then my surgeon said, "Well, you need to wait to implant because when you get pregnant," I forget what the name of the hormone is that makes all of your joints, like, really loosens all your joints, and he said, "You need to really stabilize your knee, and you can't." People think that it comes at the end of pregnancy, but actually in the first trimester is when that it starts, and I think it increases the most in the first trimester. My mom brain, I can't think of the name of what
I'm
it
gonna
is.
try and look it up here.
Yeah, look it up, but,
Relaxin?
yes,
Yeah, it says
and
relaxin
so
is produced primarily by the ovaries. Yeah, during pregnancy.
during pregnancy, yes,
Yeah.
and so he just said, "Because of your injury," and then I ended up having to get 2 more surgeries. So my fertility doctor was like, "Yeah, I mean, you've gotta heal from this, you're on crutches," because we were gonna implant, and then I got in the ski accident. And so, I mean, it was the worst. So I really had to make a hard decision because my doctor said, "You know, you can get a surrogate and start your family now, or you're gonna have to wait another year." And this was, I was
A
like
year feels like
44.
an eternity when you're trying,
And
I feel like, too. Even though now it goes
you
by
guys,
like
it
in a blink.
feels, if someone tells you you even have to wait 3 weeks to like start do something when it comes to
Mhm.
having a baby, fertility, it feels like an eternity, and it just like chips away at your heart every time. And so she's like, I really, really recommend the fact that you're not having a cycle. And I was already having other issues too. And she just said, you're not going to be able to even try to implant, and then you're going to be another year older. And she said, and you have these 2 embryos, and I would not, I just don't want you to lose them.
Mhm.
So I really, really had to mourn the thought of me not being able to be the one to carry my baby. And it it was a process, and I was very thoughtful and like prayerful about it. And my husband and I were like, what's our goal? We I was 44, 45 at the time. No, 44. And I just was like, okay, you're right. And thank goodness we made the decision we did, because I did not have a cycle for 2 years.
Oh my God.
And
And if
so
for people that don't know, when you start IVF, it all starts on your day one of
mhm,
your period. That's how you have to
yep,
kind of like get things
that's
going
how you
again.
yeah,
Like
that's
how
how
they
you
kind of map everything. And
everything
so
is
that's
around your period.
scary. Just yeah. So
Yeah,
thank God,
and
yeah.
I ended up having to have 2 more surgeries. So I made the right decision,
Mhm.
definitely. And surrogacy is such a beautiful, beautiful thing in this world. And it's really interesting to me that there is so much judgment or like shame, and not by everyone. I love people who just are like, this is the vehicle to get my child here.
Yeah.
Great. It's and make no excuses for it, because there shouldn't be. I even think it's okay if someone just doesn't want to carry their child and would
Mhm.
rather do it through surrogacy. I don't think that there is a better gift that someone could give someone, and or make money, because some people want to do it just because they
Right.
love being a mother and they want to give this to someone else. But some people are like, this would be an amazing way to make money. And truly, what better job is there? I mean, you are doing this, the most selfless thing, and making money. And a lot of people are like, this money changed my family's life.
Mhm.
So you're kind of both being blessed in a really, really cool way. And so I just hope that any judgment around surrogacy can change. And it's way more common than people realize.
Mhm.
There are so many people for so many reasons that aren't able to carry. And you
Absolutely.
do get to that point where you're like, I want to have a baby.
Mhm.
And if I'm not able to carry it, then that I don't care how it gets here. Like, I just want to get my baby here. So once I mourned and let go of that, I was all in. And we we had one surrogate, and we implanted, and we did lose our first embryo,
Mm.
which was also like one of the hardest days in my entire life and my husband's
Yeah,
life,
you're
for
probably feeling
sure.
so hopeful, like a new, a new
Mhm.
avenue to take you to
Yeah.
your dream and starting a family. And you only had one more then, right
Yeah.
after? Oh my
Only had
God.
one more.
She
And
was really making you guys work for this. Your
oh
little
yeah, she
girl.
was. And she and
She's like,
I
will they withstand all this pain and
exactly.
torture?
How hard am I going to make them work? But so yeah, we got a different surrogate, and she's
Sorry, was that something recommended? Like try, or the surrogate just isn't ready to start again?
You know what? They recommend that you use the same surrogate twice. Like if nothing is wrong with the surrogate and like
Yeah.
everything's fine and they're like, sometimes it just doesn't
Didn't work.
take. And just for anyone that is listening that doesn't know this, like whether they implant it in you or a surrogate, it's like the same success rate.
Right.
It's not like less because it's someone else. So my doctor was like, okay, we're going to use the first surrogate again. Like, we just need to wait until she gets a cycle.
Right.
And then once she starts her cycle again, we'll do it. So I did not, this was like a really interesting time because I love, like that surrogate was great. I knew her personally. Like we got to know each other.
Right.
And had a friendship. And so it had nothing to do with her. I just, in my gut, I was like, I am not supposed to use her again. And my doctor just kept saying, well, there's no reason why you shouldn't. And you have to start over with the new surrogate. Like you have to go through legal, psych, like medically cleared. It is such a long, laborious process. And so you also, like we were saying before, it just feels like I would have to start over again.
Right.
And then you feel like it's going to be so long and it's this uphill battle and you feel like it's so far away. And so I was like, "Oh, it's true." And then it's more money because then you have to pay for another psych eval, pay for more legal, pay for more, just all of it. And so she starts taking the medications. She's doing it. We had the date of when she was going to implant. And I think that for anyone listening, you have to advocate for yourself, whether it's in any scenario, especially like
Our bodies.
our bodies, like anything to do with your body, like, and I knew with everything inside me, and I called the doctor if she was supposed to implant on a Tuesday, and I called her on Sunday and said, I want to cancel it. We're canceling it. I don't do not take that embryo out of the freezer. I need to go with this other surrogate. And it was hard because I didn't want this surrogate it was nothing personal. It was my gut. And thank goodness, because I do think I made the right decision. And my husband was like, we just need to go with your gut if you feel this strongly about it. And so this was in
Well, the stakes are
October.
high at that point.
So high. I mean, talk about all your
if you
eggs
would have
being
just
in one basket.
yeah, literally. And if you would have stayed the course of the surrogate that you had because it was already set up and you'd already done that process, can you imagine that if it hadn't worked, just like the regret of you being like, I should have listened. Yeah. And I think that's an important exercise for everyone. Like you always have an inner knowing and that intuition. And it could be something so minimal, but like where you should stand or go in a line. Like there's just things.
Literally
it's
anything.
like our natural instinct. Listen to these little vibrations that happen because like this, obviously you'll never know if it would have worked, but like you have a daughter and you felt better. And I think that's the thing is if you did it and it still didn't work, it's like you made that decision and that's the right decision for you no matter what. So that would have given you, I think, like some sort of peace of mind, if that makes sense.
Oh, that's what I said to my husband. I said, I know that going with this other surrogate doesn't guarantee success. I know that we can go with this other surrogate and it can fail, but I can live with that. But if we do this again and it fails, I will never be able to live with it ever because I feel this strongly about it. And it's hard too when your doctor is like, there's no medical reason why you should, there's no reason why you shouldn't.
No.
And I just said, well, we're not going to. And
Good for
so,
you.
yeah. And So we started the process with Jamie, our surrogate, and I just knew, like, I knew I was supposed to just use her. Anyway, she's incredible. She's
Amazing.
amazing. And we did the implantation, and you find out 10 days later if it takes. Those were the longest 10 days of my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And
And are you able to communicate with them? I'm sure it's like a personal preference. I don't know if it's like a legal thing.
yeah,
But
I mean, if you
are
go
you
through an
pregnant yet? Do
agency,
you feel
yeah, I'm like,
pregnant?
are you feeling swollen?
Are
Do you
your
feel
boobs
nauseous?
growing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh.
I we were in communication because we personally knew each other before. And so, and she always wanted to be a surrogate.
Oh.
And I know she's an angel. But you do have the option when you go through an agency as well. If you want to have contact with them, you can kind of figure out how you want that experience to be. And some people want to have a closer relationship, some people don't. So I was able to talk to her, but yeah, it took, but then you get a little relief, and then you're waiting to hear the heartbeat, and then
Right.
when you hear the
It's one
heartbeat,
thing
you're
after
like,
another.
I'll probably not be so anxious, and I probably won't be so stressed, and then you're like just hoping every day that your baby's
There's no
okay.
bad news. Yeah. And it
Mhm.
is stressful. I found pregnancy a little stressful. And then there's the whole delivery, and that can have, complications for the baby or
Mhm.
the mom or carrier. And it, it's very stressful. I feel like when anyone's welcoming a baby, but I can't imagine, I guess for them, like if you were the one carrying, it's like you can't really, it's out of your control in some respect anyway. But for you, it was out of your control in a whole different thing. But it's so nice that you felt connected and aligned with this person and trusted them, and
Mhm.
obviously went with your gut to let them be a part of that journey with you, because that is huge.
It's huge. And because I know her personality, she's so compliant, and
She wasn't
anything
smoking or
I
doing
would
anything.
yeah, and just anything, I would
Kidding.
give her like wait, no, I know. She was just drinking only on the weekends.
Yeah, just red wine.
Yeah. But no, she was very she's very
Like you
diligent,
trusted.
and
Yeah.
yeah, I trusted her with my whole life. Yeah. But
I don't know anyone who, like lots of people, again, egg freezing, who have done successful and unsuccessful rounds of IVF. But I don't know anyone that has done surrogacy. And that's also, I brought up a note because in Canada, it's different. So I'm on the East Coast of Canada, Laura's in the US. So it is different. And it's actually, from my research, but it's illegal to pay someone to do it in Canada.
in Canada,
Yeah. And there's actually quite a few fines. You can like reimburse them for things like if it's like travel or, other things like that. But it's interesting. So I don't know what that process is like. Or again, there could be people that I do know who have done it, but I don't think I do. And I'm just curious if it like is not as common. Do you know what I mean? If people don't
Mhm.
um look to it, because I feel like looking back, I have family members or people that say were my parents' age that never had children but wanted to. Obviously, people can have their own choice to not, but I knew a few people that wanted to and couldn't. And it's like now that's 30, 40 plus years ago. There's
Mhm.
so many different options with I don't even think people would have done or considered IVF. That would have been very like
Mm-mm.
progressive for people to do, and probably would have had even more shame around it like at that time.
Oh,
Um,
definitely.
you know what I mean? Just thinking it was like against whatever was meant to be, but like that's not quite the case. We know that for
Yeah.
both of
No,
us.
I agree with that. Exactly. No, it is. There's a lot. People are very opinionated about it for sure. But I just think
Did you guys tell people, or did you like just do it and we're like, oh, now we have a baby, like Paris Hilton? Did you? She like
No,
told no one.
because I was very open about it
Okay.
because I think that it needs to be normalized. Because one of the other
Mhm.
things too is if you only have one embryo, you want the best shot at getting that baby here. And if you've never had a baby like me, you don't know how your body does with pregnancy. And some people have the best time, the easiest time. They feel the best when they're pregnant. Their body was like made to be pregnant.
Mhm.
It can get pregnant all the time. And some women, it's really hard. I mean, some people have to be like on IVs because they throw up every day. They're sick. I mean, there's all different experiences. So if you know that your body is like made to be pregnant, why would you not give it the best shot? And so that was the other thing is it's like I had never been pregnant. I don't know. And yeah, I mean I think it's incredible because women at 48 or 50 can, you know, get a surrogate and have a baby.
Mhm.
And it's really incredible.
Well, it's true, especially if, like some people could have got married very early and then split up and then found someone later or not found someone at all, or are single and just want, to have a baby and it wasn't working for them and they have the option to do surrogacy as well. What was it like the moment when you first saw your daughter? Like were you there for the delivery?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Like,
My husband and I both were. And I when I was reading over our notes for this show, I loved that you asked that question and asked if there was like an immediate connection
mhm.
or if it took time. And that was one of, I mean, that was like the most special moment in my husband and I's life as individuals and as a couple. And it it was so surreal because I was standing there. My husband originally wasn't gonna be in the room because he's so appropriate,
Right.
has impeccable manners, and so he was just like, "I just wanna do what I just want Jamie to be comfortable. I'll just be outside the door. I can cut I'll hear when the baby starts crying." And thank goodness that a couple of my friends were there and in the next room, and we're like, hell no, you are not missing this moment."
Mhm.
Because Jamie was like, I don't, this is your baby and I want you, I don't care if you're in there. Like
Right.
and
And you know
so,
what? Just to add something, I wouldn't have cared if the doctors invited everyone from the
exactly.
hospital in there. I remember saying to my husband, like, I don't want you to watch. Like, can you just stay? Of course you
Yeah.
watch. Like, I
Yeah,
didn't
of
give a shit. I was
course.
like, get this effing baby
No.
out of me. Like, I think there were a few spectators. Obviously, there's like students and stuff.
Yeah.
So like in the moment, you don't really
No,
care.
it's not like that. Like medical things, it's not like, oh, there's a woman naked in here. Yeah.
You're
And
like, ooh,
everyone
yeah,
who's
no.
had a baby is like, it doesn't matter who's coming
Yeah,
in
like
or
I will
who's
sell
in there.
tickets. Like,
Like,
come on
yeah,
in.
whatever. So I had gone into the other room because I was like with Jamie. Her mom was there too, like as she's laboring. And um, I would go into the other room and he's like, "Okay, so they told me I can't not be in the room." I was like, "Yeah, it's about time. Like, I want you to be there." And had they not had that conversation, the second they're like, "Hey, we're ready. Like, this baby's coming."
Mhm.
Like, I wanted to be next to Carl. Like, I wanted he and I to be in that moment when our daughter was coming out, like, together. And when she came out, right before she came out too, I was like, "I am meeting my child," and I'm sure every mom
Yeah.
feels this way, like, whether they're the one delivering or not, you're just like, What?" how is it going to
Like it's
be? What are they
happening.
going to look like? Like they're going to be here. And I mean, this was like 6 years in the making, And so when she came out, I could not even talk or say, and I just tears streaming. And they handed her to me. So I was the very first person who the doctor handed her to me, and I was holding her, and Carl cut the cord. And both of us were sobbing, and it was like, yeah, that's my baby. I mean, I did not stop crying for days. It was kind of embarrassing. I would be sitting there and I'm like, I can't believe she's real. I just was so like what everyone says. It's love that you've never felt before. There are
Yeah.
no words to describe it. All the cliche sayings that people say about having a baby is so true. My heart broke wide open, and it was like I could not put my emotions back inside my body. And
Are you still
my
like
husband
that?
and I, yes,
Yeah.
like even just the other day, like 2 days ago, she was just being so funny. And she loves like when all three of us are like hugging, and she'll like give us kisses. And we both just started crying. He's like, I can't believe she's real. I'm like, me either. I
I know.
cannot believe she's
It's
real.
crazy.
And it's just, oh, it's so special. And she's just, oh, she is the best. So if anyone worries about surrogacy, and if you would feel connected, or there is, going to be a disconnect for a moment or whatever, there is absolutely not.
Hmm. No. And I think that it's normal, even if you're carrying or
Mhm.
having a surrogate, that like everyone is different, that you could
Mhm.
have carried that baby and birthed the baby, and it still may take you, like whatever, weeks, days, months to bond. Like I think it's just different for
Yeah.
everyone, but I don't think that that should be um
Mm-mm.
like the end all because you don't think that you'll feel
Mm-mm.
connected. It's like that. If someone just handed me cash, the same thing, I'd be like, that's my baby. Like, and some
Mhm.
people are using donor eggs or donor,
Yeah.
embryos,
Sperm.
sperms.
Yeah.
And um, I think that you're going into it with the mentality like that you've waited for this. This is what you want, and
Mhm.
that's going to be your baby. Or adoption, like a baby comes and it's like you just have that feeling. You just know, like, I'm so lucky and grateful. And you just connect with, like, I was very lucky. Again, not everyone experiences this, but same thing. Like when my son came out, and just like immediately fell in love, like had that bond, was like whispering to him, telling
Mhm.
him all the things. I'm like, I'm so excited. Like you're just
Mhm.
elated. And even still, my husband Jeff and I will catch eyes, and he'll just be playing. And when I look at him, I'm like, I'll just mouth it to him. I'm like, I love him so much. And Jeff will just look back to me and is like, I love him so much too. I'm like, oh,
Uh,
it's very crazy creating a little
it
human in a
really,
life.
it
It's so
really
crazy.
is. But you know what? It's like what you said is such a good point, because whether it's adoption, donor, egg or sperm, or if it's your egg and your husband's sperm, like whatever it is, your baby is your baby, and you know it the minute they're in
Mhm.
your arms, for sure.
Absolutely. I'm so happy that there is a very happy ending to your
I
journey,
know,
because
me
yeah, it's a
too.
long road. I know, just to switch gears and go back to MM&L, the MM&L show for a second, like you guys both worked in the beauty industry and still work in the beauty industry. So that was obviously a great platform for you both to continue what you do today. And I know that a lot of women, including myself, sometimes like you go through this huge transformation becoming a mother, and you see things differently and may want to try something different, or find it hard to get back on track with your career. So is there any advice that you would have for moms out there who maybe want to pursue something new, or are struggling to kind of get back into that like career groove where they were before?
I think that whether you had an existing career and then you wanna continue with that, or if you didn't prior to having kids and want to start something new, I think that for me personally at least, it has been extremely helpful for me and my mental health to have something that is just me, that reminds
Mhm.
me of me, that kind of anchors you because you do change. Once you have a baby, you do change. Everything changes. And most of it for the better, right? I mean, having a baby is really hard too. There's like challenges that come along with it, but it's so you are different. But I started with my friend Haley a podcast right after Chloe was born. So it so it doesn't matter if you start something new or you continue with something you were doing before. I think for me, I wanted to really be able to spend every minute I could with my baby because this miracle happened and I just wanted to be able to spend every second I could with her. But I can see how people can feel really lost because their life changes so drastically. And if you stop working, so even if you don't want to do something that, a job, just something that,
For you.
yeah, just for you.
Mhm.
And that's what I said to my friend Haley after the first season of our podcast. I actually got really emotional and I said, thank you so much for doing this with me because this has anchored me in this experience because it's made me feel like me. I had to use my brain. I had to be me.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Laura the mom. It was just Laura. And if I didn't have that, I think that you can kind of get lost in motherhood. And I don't
Absolutely.
Yeah, did you feel like that? Did you work right after or do something? Yeah, even if it's a hobby, right?
So my previous background is in tech. I have a tech startup, which I've kind of like since having a child and like just our pivot of our industries and stuff, it wasn't my expertise. So I'm still a co-founder, but I'm a little more like removed for lack of a better word. And I was still feeling that whole identity shift and crisis. And like I had a podcast with my best friend before, which we still like to dabble, kind of like you guys from like time to time, but it's just like our worlds didn't align in terms like she's like traveling the world and doing all these fun things. And so I did miss that. And that was really part of the inception of this podcast was I love to create things. I love to talk to people. It's very selfish in the way I get to connect and learn from people and meet amazing moms, especially. So what you're saying is literally, this will definitely be a clip because I'm like, this is just like hitting home, especially you keep referring to me, which is like, this is the mom existence, which we abbreviate sometimes as like me for mom existence. And that's what it all comes down to is like remembering who you are and honoring that so that you can be a good mom and a good partner or wife. But I got really lost in a lot of the like guilt around that and I think the stereotypes and like what a mom should be and what my mom was a stay-at-home mom, you know what I mean? Like all those things flood in. Obviously we know times have changed and that's not the case. We have a right to do what we want to do and we have the chance to do it. Everyone always says like they're only that age once, which I get and I love that. I love the growth and the different stages, but we're also only one age once too. And we have to remember, and you have a daughter, I have a son, so it's a bit of a different dynamic in some respect, but like you want to show her just like I want to show him that mommy can work hard and I enjoy these things. And like at the end of the day, I had someone, Joyce, on the podcast a while ago, and she said, I think her son was like 10 or 12. She said something about mom guilt and he was like, what's that? So he is you know what I mean? Like, it's just this thing that we torture ourselves with when we want to do things away from the norm or what we think is the norm. And I think it's just about reprogramming our thought process and kind of the picture of motherhood. And that's why podcasts and social media can be good. It's not always a highlight reel of a perfect family or, like what you're doing and sleep, everything's perfect. It's like, no, we can now use these platforms to share realities and, have a peek inside what's happening in different, like scenarios like yours, for example, in surrogacy. Like a lot of people probably are not as versed in why someone may do it or why not, and not for ignorance. They just like don't know. Right. And that's
100%.
That's just not as much the case now with the access to social media, and things like that. So,
Well, I do think that the advice I would give to moms is you don't know how you're going to feel after you have a baby. I mean, there are people that had the biggest careers. They were the breadwinners. And after they had a baby, I was in shock that they didn't go back to work. I would have put all my money
it's true.
on that they would not have done that. So you don't know how you're going to feel. And I would say the best advice I could give is you just need to do what's right for you. If that's going back to work, because that makes you a better mom and that makes you feel whole, or if it's having a hobby, if it's doing something one day a week, or it fills your cup to use your brain doing something that you love, or if it's staying at home because that's what feels right to you. There's not one way, there's not a right way. It's just the right way is your way.
Mm-hmm.
And just really valuing yourself and what is going to make you the best mom.
Mic drop. Laura, if people want to hear, I was listening, like I mentioned, to your podcast. It was the one on, I skimmed through, I listened to a bit of one. And then when I got in the car, I was like, ooh, I want to listen to the one about like alcohol, for the lack of
Yeah.
And that was it's very informative and great. So if people want to learn more about you or listen to your podcast or go back and watch some amazing tips from the MM&L show, where's the best place to do this?
So the Body Pod, you can look up and find anywhere you listen to your podcasts. So it's easy to find. And my podcast partner is Haley Happens Fitness on Instagram. And the easiest place to find me and where you can find anything else is just on Instagram, which is Love by Laura, Laura.
Yeah. Laura.
Yes.
Oh, this has been, I feel like we could talk. There might be this
too.
was
I'm
months
like,
in the making, but we could probably, now that we've connected, figure it out how to do it again. But I feel like you have so much great insight to share. And thank you for being so raw and honest and real, because I think it's a great conversation for people to understand your journey. And then if they're feeling the same way, whether it's egg freezing or with surrogacy, that they can know that, okay, she did it and like it's not that bad or it's not that scary. So thank you so much. And I'm so happy we finally were able to do this.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me.